In today's video, I'm going to go over a build that's fairly straightforward while also being one of the most powerful builds in the game. This is an excellent build that revolves around the fighter class, and it works very, very well in honor mode, while also being a build that I would say is fairly beginner friendly. You just have to understand a few important mechanics. A character of this build absolutely destroys its chosen targets, and I almost always open with using this character on the most deadly opponent on the battlefield, because you'll be able to destroy your chosen target many times in a single round of combat. If you don't play this build with your own custom character, it's of course a great fit for laezel, or consider doing it with your own character and laezel and enter the world of nothing can challenge me. But first, a quick message from today's video sponsor, Factor. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep. So get started on those New Year's resolutions by skipping the overpriced takeout trap and switching to Factor, which is going to be cheaper, more delicious, and yeah, ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. If you're not a takeout person, well, you get to cut back on that stressful grocery shopping, cut back on the prep work, cut back on the cooking fatigue, and save yourself some well-deserved time. And if you suck at cooking, like I do, well, it's even better, as Factor offers a plethora of meals and even snacks to choose from every single week. It's really flexible. Take a look. Factor offers 35 plus meals per week, which includes options that can fit right into and work really well with some of your resolutions. As you can see right here, we have protein plus options, calorie smart, keto, vegan and veggie, and more. There's also a ton of add-ons, as you guys can see me drinking these smoothies all the time. And this week I even tried these wellness shots, which give a punch of vitamins and antioxidants. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code WolfheartFPS for 50% off your first Factor box. That's factor75.com, code WolfheartFPS for half off that first delicious box. Back to the video. In character creation, you're going to choose the fighter class, and you can do this build with any race that you desire. If you're really trying to optimize, though, for combat, Half-Orc stands out here due to its relentless endurance and savage attacks features. The Githyanki race stands out as you get the jump and Misty Step spell, and one of the most slept-on races in the game is the Duergar, which gets invisibility as well as the Enlarge spell, and also some great resistances, all of which can work nicely with this build. Really though, play the race that you want to play. For your fighting style at level 1, defense or great weapon fighting are the two choices here that we're going to be looking at. If you favor a permanent increase to your character's chance to dodge attacks, go with defense. But if you want to maximize your damage potential, although I should say on average it doesn't really result in that much, take great weapon fighting. For your ability scores, there's a lot of ways that you can do this, but the most important thing here is to give yourself at least a 16 in strength, giving you that +3 modifier. That's going to help not only with damage, but even more importantly, with this build, your chance to hit. I'm actually going to recommend giving yourself a 17 though, and that's not because of the hag's hair, and I will briefly mention that at the end of the video. A 17 is because of a special feat that we're going to take at level 6. After strength, dexterity, and constitution come next, and I would recommend both of these to be at least 14. You could boost your constitution to 16 if you'd like, or even dexterity for initiative order. And for your remaining points, I'd recommend wisdom at 10 or 12 for saving throws, and perhaps consider a little boost to charisma if you want to succeed in more dialogue skill checks. If you're playing this build with laezel though, leave it dumped. At level 2, we get Action Surge, which is a staple of the fighter class in general, and also very powerful for this build. Action Surge, of course, gives you another action, and since it recharges on a short rest, I would recommend using it in almost every single encounter. I find great success using it early on in an encounter, many times on my first chosen target, to really get that encounter started in my favor. At level 3, you're going to choose the Battlemaster subclass, and you get to choose 3 Battlemaster maneuvers. Maneuvers offer some extra combat capabilities, and to activate them, they cost superiority dice, of which you'll have 4 at this level, but they do replenish on a short rest. The first most important maneuver here is Precision Attack, which in simple terms, when activated, adds a 1 to 8 bonus onto your chance to hit, and that becomes a 1 to 10 bonus when you reach level 10. Pick that up right away, and you're going to see why here shortly when we reach level 4. For your other 2 maneuvers, I recommend Disarming Attack as well as Menacing Attack. Both of these maneuvers add 1 to 8 damage to your weapon's strike, while Disarming Attack has a chance to disarm an opponent, meaning they'll have to spend an entire action to re-equip their weapon. Very powerful. And Menacing Attack has a chance to frighten your opponent, and this maneuver can be used more liberally. At level 4, we get to choose a feat, and we're most certainly going to be taking Great Weapon Master. which when you have it toggled on will increase your damage dealt by a flat 10. No RNG with this number, every time that you land a weapon strike when using a two-handed weapon. Very powerful, especially at this level, so I recommend taking it now, and then focusing on increasing your strength score at levels 6 and 8. Great Weapon Master, however, does come at the cost of a -5 to your attack rolls, meaning that you're more likely to miss attacks when it's toggled on. Toggling it on and off while targeting an opponent will let you see that percentage difference. Nobody likes to miss attacks though, so we have to find ways to offset that chance to hit penalty, which is exactly why we took that maneuver called Precision Attack at level 3. I currently have a 45% chance of landing my attack on Gale here when Great Weapon Master is toggled on. When I activate Precision Attack at the cost of my limited superiority die, that 45% goes up to 65%. So yeah, you only get to do this a limited amount of times in a single encounter or per short rest, but your superiority dice replenish on a short or long rest, just like Action Surge does. In Baldur's Gate 3, if you're willing to loot most things in the environment, you'll have plenty of camp supplies, and this will allow you to, at the very least, take a short rest after most combat encounters. With the Great Weapon Master feat, I really cannot stress how much damage this feat truly offers if you just have some basic knowledge on how to offset that chance to hit penalty. And we already have that really simple, self-sufficient way, which is activating Precision Attack. Some other ways to offset that -5 are by having party members cast spells such as Bless on your fighter, using Oils of Accuracy, Elixirs of Strength, finding ways to gain advantage on your attacks, such as sneaking up to opponents, being invisible, attacking prone opponents, having other party members cast spells such as Hold Person, Fairy Fire, Blindness, Guiding Bolt, Entangle. All of those and more will give you advantage on your attack, greatly offsetting the Great Weapon Master penalty. I would personally toggle on Great Weapon Master on almost every strike where you can get a 60 to 70+% chance to hit. And if it's lower than that, or you only need a few damage points to finish off an enemy, simply toggle it off. You also don't need to always be using Precision Attack if you already have a really good chance to hit. Now, quick quality of life tip here. Take your Great Weapon Master icon, which you can find when you press K, and drag it onto your main hotbar so you don't always have to go to the Passives tab. Now this feat gets even better when you reach level 5 because the fighter gets extra attack. Combine that with Action Surge, and on the first round of combat, the opponent that you choose to attack, you can get off 4 weapon attacks, and you have enough superiority dice to use Precision Attack for all of those on that first round if needed. Your Battlemaster fighter will be taking out some of the most powerful opponents in the first round of combat, basically handing you the win in many circumstances. Also, don't forget that with Great Weapon Master toggled on, when you score a critical hit, you actually get an extra bonus action attack. When this occurs, a special Great Weapon Master icon will appear on the right side of your hotbar, so keep an eye out for it and make sure to use it. At level 6 as a fighter, we're going to get rid of that odd strength number and take the Athlete feat. This will boost your strength by 1, giving you that +4 modifier, while also increasing your jump distance by 50%. And Athlete also makes it so your character will use up much less of your movement speed when you stand up from being knocked prone. Amazing feat for martial melee classes with high strength, as you're going to be able to jump very far, the point of where there's almost always going to be an opponent that you can reach, so you never have to waste a round of potentially very high damage with your Battlemaster. At level 7, you get an extra superiority die, giving you 5 opportunities per short rest to use maneuvers such as Precision Attack, and you get to choose 2 more maneuvers. Personally, I like to take Evasive Footwork just to have it in dire circumstances when dodging incoming attacks may be needed to survive. Evasive Footwork, of course, costs a superiority die, and it causes opponents who attack you with melee weapons to have disadvantage on their attacks against you for a round. Maybe you're low on hit points and surrounded by a few melee opponents, that can be a great use of Evasive Footwork. I'd also recommend Riposte, which allows you to spend a superiority die to attack an opponent who misses their melee attack on you. This costs you a reaction. This will proc Great Weapon Master if you have it toggled on. In your reactions menu, definitely set Riposte on Ask before using though, as you should only use it when you know that you have a good chance to hit, otherwise you may waste a superiority die. At level 8, increase that strength to 20 if it's not already there for those of you who know about the Hag's Hair. At level 9, you get a passive Battlemaster feature called Indomitable, which allows you to re-roll a failed saving throw. This is actually really useful as you don't want potentially your most valuable player, your Battlemaster fighter, falling under the effects of crowd control spells. At level 10, your superiority dice power increases to a 1d10, and yet again, you get to choose 2 more Battlemaster maneuvers. This is where I'm going to finally recommend Trip Attack, because next level we'll be getting a 3rd extra attack. So Trip Attack deals extra damage and it has a chance to knock an opponent prone. If you have a high chance of it succeeding, successfully knocking them prone on your first attack will give the rest of your attacks on that turn advantage, making it less likely that you need to use precision attack to offset that great weapon master feat. You can then save some of those dice for the next round. I'd say though, only use Trip Attack on lower strength opponents on your first attack because it requires them to do a strength saving throw. Otherwise, it's probably better just to use precision attack. For your other Battlemaster maneuver, I would say that having pushing attack never hurts, as having more options to knock opponents off high ledges is oh so sweet in this game. And at level 11, believe it or not, the Battlemaster fighter gets a 2nd extra attack. This is a huge power boost for the Battlemaster fighter in general, but even deadlier with a Battlemaster focused on using the Great Weapon Master feat like we are. Combine this with Action Surge and you can now in a single round attack an opponent 6 times and possibly even 7 if you land that critical hit with one of those attacks. And also don't forget you could, use a potion of speed or a haste spore grenade to get even more attacks. This is a boss killer build. The opponent that you choose to wipe off the battlefield will likely not even get a chance to consider attacking you or other party members. Such a strong opening to all encounters. At max level 12, I'm actually going to recommend taking the Alert feat, and this is one of the best feats in the game for certain builds, and it's going to give you a +5 bonus to your initiative, making you more often than not the first one to go in a combat encounter. This feat also makes it so you can't be surprised. If you feel like you've been missing a lot though up to this point, you could consider taking the Lucky feat. For players that plan on using the Hag's Hair, and if you don't know what the Hag's Hair is, you can just do a Google search and there's plenty of guides that will pop up on how to obtain it. But please do note, if this is your first time playing BG3, I'd encourage you to just play the game and not force certain outcomes. If you do get the Hag's Hair though, you would have reached 20 strength by level 6 as opposed to level 8. So therefore you could take the Alert feat at level 8. And then when you reach max level 12, you could take the Martial Adept feat, giving you an extra superiority die. So how do I play this build? I typically play a character of this build as a really strong opener or early round character. And if possible, I do like to sneak up to an opponent to have advantage on my first strike and surprise them. I'll pick out one of the more powerful opponents on a battlefield, and then take them out in a single round or maybe 2. I'll often use Action Surge and Precision attacks right away to ensure that I get that really strong start with the best chance to hit. And sometimes I'll even stack a Menacing or Disarming attack on top of Precision attacks to get that extra damage. Taking opponents completely off of a battlefield before they're really even able to act makes a huge difference. Now, with all that said, after you've expended Action Surge and your superiority dice in a round or 2, your character is still really powerful. It's not like you become weak after that. You're just not as insanely powerful as you were early on. After you run out of the ability to use precision attack, you just have to rely on other ways to increase your chance to hit with Great Weapon Master toggled on. But don't be afraid to toggle it off at times though. After an encounter is over, hit that short rest button and you're back to full power. You don't need a long rest with this character until you run out of the short rests. And speaking of ways to increase your chance to hit, my favorite synergy with this build is having a caster in your group who has the Hold Person spell. This is definitely one of the most powerful synergies in the game. Successfully casting Hold Person with a caster on an opponent and then using your Battlemaster on that paralyzed opponent gives your powerful melee attacks with Great Weapon Master toggled on a 100% hit chance, and it also gives you guaranteed critical hits. So good, and even better with the Great Weapon Master build. Bards, clerics, druids, sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards all have at least opportunities to grab the Hold Person spell, so do not let it pass. Speaking of bards, if you play a bard as your main character and instead use this build for laezel, this is an excellent synergy. Bards get the Song of Rest feature, which is essentially giving your party another short rest, And bards also have bardic inspiration, which they can give your battle master to increase their chance of hitting. Now I'm going to go over a few equipment items that can benefit this build and are fairly easy to obtain earlier on in the game. None of these are a necessity though. With my more general builds, I don't really want players to feel like they need to do X in X situation to then do this in Act 1 to make this happen in Act 3, etc. Just play the game, enjoy it, and with this build you'll be just fine regardless of what you end up doing. As far as armor goes, just note that you'll be using medium and or heavy armor. Whatever gives you the better benefits and higher armor class as you come across different pieces throughout the game. So the Gloves of Dexterity that I mentioned earlier can be purchased from vendor Jira in the Githyanki Crush in the Mountain Pass. If you equip these gloves, your dexterity will boost to 18. And you can then actually respec your character through the NPC withers back at camp, leave your dexterity on a measly 8, boost your constitution to 16, and then show some extra love to those other ability scores. On the Nautiloid ship in the game's tutorial, Commander Zulk is carrying the Everburn Blade, which will give your attacks an extra 1d4 fire damage. If you can kill the commander or successfully use Shadowheart's command drop spell, this is a solid weapon that works really great with the Great Weapon Master feat, and it will help get your playthrough started. A little later on in Act 1 though, I would argue an even better sword to obtain would be the Sword of Justice from Anders in the Toll House. The great thing about this sword is that it's 2d6 plus 1 and it gives you a free use of a Shield of Faith. The main thing here though is that plus 1, which is added to not only damage rolls but also attack rolls, and this will help offset that Great Weapon Master feat penalty, which with this build is more important than getting that extra 1d4 fire damage from the Everburn Blade. In the Druid's Grove in Act 1, you can find the Tiefling vendor, Damon, who sells the hunting shortbow. Although the shortbow's damage is not that great, we don't really care about ranged damage that much with this build, as the passive feature that the hunting bow comes with will give you advantage on not only your ranged attacks against enemies that are considered monstrosities, but also advantage with your two-handed melee weapon attacks against monstrosities, as long as you have the bow equipped. It's a very overlooked bow due to it being low damage and of course it being a green item, but with the right builds it can provide tremendous benefit. I leave this bow equipped for basically the entire game. And that's going to be it for this build. It's one of the best builds in the game and it doesn't even require you to multi-class, nor is it completely reliant on specific items. It's also a lot more fun than I expected, because at first I was thinking it was going to be kind of boring. You know, you're playing as a fighter, you attack, I'm dumb, attack. And although there is some truth to that, I also feel like an absolute beast of a character with this build. It's very satisfying to completely destroy your chosen opponents. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoy watching chill live streams, consider watching some streams on my YouTube channel right here, or I'm also live on my Twitch channel at WolfheartFPS every Tuesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday afternoon Eastern Time. I'll also leave a link to the community Discord server below in the video description.